What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the Pancake Pounder here, and we're back with episode 11 of my whatever. I was editing the most recent Let's Play video, and I think I realized that at times my intro seems too genuine, and I think that's missing the point. In case you watch my videos and you're not sure like what my intro is, the whole point is that it's and again, maybe I'm being obvious if you like know me and know the videos, but in the case that you don't, like, I'm being beyond satire when I have my little "what is going on, you guys" intro, because it's just such a standard like YouTube intro, and I thought it was so stupid. And it'd be funny just to play into the meta irony of, the Gen Z, and have an intro like that. And then I always come up with some absolutely ridiculous name, just because the names you see on the internet are quite ridiculous. That's not even really that's like a bad thing. I'm not saying any of it's a bad thing. It's just kind of a meta-ironic take on it. If you're not familiar with kind of the layers and levels of irony, I'll give you a brief overview. And again, this is just how I understand it. So if you want an in-depth like analysis and definitions of meta-irony and these layers of irony, just go watch another video of some British guy explaining it. Because clearly I have a British voice fetish or something, as one of my commenters aptly noticed. But basically it works as like, so if you are genuine, that's like 0 layers of irony, right? So I'm just being totally genuine. Like, I like your hat, right? That's like a genuine statement. You could say that, meaning like, there's nothing else behind it. 1 layer is just being ironic, right? And that's like, oh man, I hate your hat, and he's like, or sarcastic really, as kind of the way that 1 layer of irony is used a lot. And then you have kind of this like post irony. And this is where it's like, oh man, love the hat, where it's kind of like, you're saying exactly like what you mean, that like you're kind of, nice hat, but you're saying it in a way that sounds sarcastic. It sounds as if it's 1 layer of irony, but in reality it's like a genuine statement. The meaning is equivalent to the genuine statement, but the way it's phrased is sounds as if it's a if it's a sarcastic or a satire remark. So that's like post. Shit! I just fucking broke a pickaxe. God damn it. That's frustrating. Well, now I gotta go make another one. Whatever. Every time I break one, I have to like go replace it. Just because it fucks with me if I don't. Damn it, that's stupid. Whatever. I just wasn't paying attention. Anyway, so yeah, that's like post irony, and then meta irony is like in the same vein. So in the hat example, it'd be like, what a fucking stupid hat, like your dumbass hat, like fuck your hat or something. Or even if it really could be anything. It could be, hey man, I love the fucking hat, right? But it's said in a way, and it doesn't really matter what you're saying. The meaning behind what you're saying is meant to be completely ambiguous in terms of its actual meaning. You don't know whether I'm being. It's like so many. It's technically still 2 layers of irony, from what I understand it. But the point is the meaning is so like ambiguous. You don't really know whether I'm being genuine or serious, right? And you kind of see that in a lot of humor now, where it's like, because stuff's so weird and edgy that it's like, I don't even know what this. Are you being serious with this or not? Like, I don't understand it, because like, and it's kind of graduated over time, right? It started with kind of, 1 layer. Like, I think about memes especially as an easy way to see this. It's like 1 layer of irony on a meme is like, those old cat memes or, Bad Luck Brian memes where it's like kind of one layer of whatever it is. And then we kind of entered in this this post-ironic stage where it's like 2 layers, right? Where it's like, it's kind of just totally switcheroo, or it's like you're kind of meaning the original thing, but you say it in a way that's meant to be, sarcastic, but it's really just, it's supposed to be genuine. And then now you see like these memes or whatever that's like such an absolute clusterfuck shit show that like you don't even know what to make of it. It's just confusing. It's not even supposed to mean anything, and like that's funny. So I just think of like some of these like deep fried memes with all this like this random text and all this other shit, and everyone's like, what the people that don't have the Gen Z sense of humor are often like, what the hell does any of this mean? And they're trying to like analyze it, but the whole point is that the reason why it's funny is because it's like so absurd and unintelligible. Really, it's meta ironic in the sense that you're not really supposed to know what it means. It doesn't have a clear meaning. You don't know whether they're whatever the topic's at hand. You don't know whether they're kidding or they're being serious. You don't even know. It's like that many layers of irony. And I suppose my introduction is probably closer to the post-ironic level, where it's like, or even just the sarcastic, a single layer of irony, where it's just I'm just kind of making fun of people that do that. But also in the way that I'm doing it for every single video, it becomes a point where it's like, all right, is he being serious now with this intro, or is this like? And it's just a part of the brand now, really, at this point. But for a while, it's like, it's kind of meta ironic in the sense there's like, okay, is he being genuine with this intro, or is this just like, his attempt at funny? So it's everything. I'm not gonna read into it much more than that. Not that I already haven't overanalyzed it, but that just kind of gives you, if you're unfamiliar with, how the role of modern irony and satire and humor, especially with some of these weird memes, maybe you can discover some more about yourself in terms of what humor you enjoy. I guess for me, I do enjoy the meta-ironic humor just because it's like, it becomes such confusing and clusterfuck. You don't even know what to make of it, but it's funny just because it's a mess. And it's funny, it's in the sense that you like showing it to people to confuse what like the hell's this guy even talking about? Because and it's funny that it's just like you get it in the sense that like you don't get it, and the point of it is to not really analyze it and get it. The point is just to just allow yourself to be enthralled in the mystery of whatever the author is trying to convey with their meme, which I think is kind of the humor we've graduated to at least as a younger generation. Most people adopt that kind of humor. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Anyway, I thought I would provide some clarity on my stupid ass intro that I've been using in all my videos. And there's a good reason that I am kind of a head ass about it, because it is not meant to be taken serious. Because I do realize that's like that's your generic ass YouTube intro, but the fact that it is my intro is like what's kind of the confusing part and the meta-ironic part about it. It's not meant to be, analyzed beyond the fact that it's like, okay, I don't know whether he's being serious or not. Ha ha ha. It also just gives me a nice chance to, I don't know, brainstorm funny names and things and like ideas to connect, right? So generally I just think of a noun and then a funny verb that goes along with a noun, something that rhymes a lot of the times, just because I feel like that's how a lot of stupid internet names start. I can't think of any good ones off the top of my head, but like, I don't know, think about any, like even those Xbox Live auto-generated names are normally some like either two stupid nouns put together with some numbers, or like a verb and a noun, glued together with a bunch of numbers. And generally they're all pretty stupid. I just think of ones that are you know, sometimes just inappropriate, just in the sense that they're just like, it's funny and it's stupid. But, you know, it's the age we live in today. So if you were at all confused about that, or not that anyone was overtly curious, I just thought I would talk about it. So I can talk about whatever the hell I want. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So something else that was brought to my attention, and this is kind of where my views go off the rails a little bit. So, you know, it's only a matter of time before I get canceled. I'm not scared of getting canceled. I really don't care. You know, anyone that would cancel me, I don't want to associate with them that much anyway. Anyone that would put so much value on being canceled, whatever the fuck that means. First of all, I don't have a Twitter or anything, so it's like, what are you going to silence me on? I mean, unless YouTube like blocks my account, like I don't really care. And I'm saying this as if I'm about to say something terrible. Like, no, I'm not. It's just like an opinion I have that is weird and strange and is thought provoking. I think more than anything, it's not even that I, you know, actively like pursue this with my life. I just think it's a thought provoking idea, and it's worth some kind of discussion or analysis even. But yeah, before I get into that, I'll just say I'm generally not scared of like the cancel culture. You know, I mean, Trump said it best: all press is good press. You know, not that I think he was a genius in any right, but he was pretty right about that, I would say, because people do really understand that. You know, I talked about the whole dick and ice cream thing, and then I forgot what my last examples on with regard to bad press being good press. So it doesn't really matter, and you know, really, if you're canceling somebody, you're just doing them a favor, especially if they were, you know, quote unquote irrelevant before. But you know, I don't even have a, you know, aside from deleting this, you know, cruddy YouTube channel, there's no silencing my voice. I don't have an audience, and no one cares, and no one cares what I think anyway. I think that's generally true. No one really cares what anyone else says. They just want to be perceived as someone that, you know. It's a whole argument of virtue signaling, which I won't really get into because I don't really want to talk about that. That's another egg I could crack open, but I don't. That's not on my list for today, so I'll dive into that another time. What I am going to talk about, though, that is probably pretty controversial and I don't know, relates some to my personal experience as well, is I think bullying, and I'm not going to say as in all terms, but in the context of like, you know, physical bullying is one thing. You know, I mean, physically harming somebody is one thing. You can't, like, I'm not saying that bullying is good in the sense you should, you know, run around to all the 8-year-olds and poke their eyes out. But I just mean more so the psychological isolation that a lot of kids experience at a young age, especially, and seemingly there's no real like solution for. People have tried to stop bullying, but it ultimately just doesn't happen. You know, there's bullying's kind of always going to happen. I think there's a lot of utility in younger kids, you know, being bullied. I mean, you hear like most of the people that end up having any kind of platform or at some point or end up being successful in whatever they're doing, we're often like victims of bullying. And I'm not going to use that as evidence at all, because that's not exculpatory evidence at all. That could just be, you know, that's flawed data. But the way I do view it is it's in the greater scope of things. I think diversity of thought is really important. People that think differently is really important. That's why free speech is really, really important. Because the moment there's I'm going to try to say this word, homogeny, or I'm not going to try, I give up. The moment that everyone's views are homogeneous, i.e. they're the same throughout, they're consistent, everyone's views on everything are the exact same, or even that they're all very condensed, right? They all fall within a small or a relatively controllable subset of views. There's no innovation that happens on the, you know, kind of the world development side in terms of new products and new ideas. There's no innovation when ideas are all the same. It's just the same shit being recycled. So innovation is one big hit, I think, even just as a larger symptom of, you know, lack of diversity of thought. As well as people's ability to express unique thought. I think no one's sitting here saying that everyone's brain chemistry is the same. So ultimately, people have wildly different thoughts. And I think if we are trying to breed people that have the same thoughts, or to silence all these, internal thoughts that are strange because people think differently, we've established that, then you're going to run into a lot more cases of extreme, people just losing their minds, right? Because they think differently, but they've been conditioned and conditioned and conditioned to think a certain way. And, oh shit. They've been conditioned and conditioned to think a certain way. And the moment that, they just kind of snap and were never able to speak their mind. They never, seemingly no one agrees with them because everyone else has also been silenced and held to this standard of, these views are okay, the rest are not. Then, you run into a lot of problems where people have all these extreme meltdowns and they lose their mind, they shoot up a school or whatever. And where bullying plays into that is, it outcasts people. That's what bullying does. It generally separates you from other people. Like if everyone was always included, people would generally, especially if you're trying to fit into a group, you're not going to come out swinging with your hottest takes. You're just not. Why would you? That's a dumb strategy, right? If you're going to try to fit in, you're going to come in with something mild, with mild things. You're going to say, things that you think they'll agree with because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to fit in. You don't want to be the weirdo, generally speaking. And so if that is something that's trained and everyone is able always to fit in and not, kind of have, not let those wild thoughts sometimes roam, then ultimately, you're going to be silencing a lot of unique, strange ideas, a lot of challenges to the status quo. And the more that happens, the more, internally you could be suppressing a lot of emotions corresponding with those beliefs, right? Which is a problem that I, just touched on. And that, could result in any number of, it's problematic to say the least. So what bullying does in isolating people is it allows people, the ones who just say, man, fuck you guys. I'm going to believe whatever the fuck I want. You guys are stupid. Fuck all you guys anyway, right? And you see that with a lot of people that, a lot of people that end up bullying. Some of them end up caving in and just, accepting that they deserve to be bullied and their views are stupid, this and that. Those are the weak ones. And I'm just kidding. Cancel me. But a lot of them end up being like, man, fuck you guys. I believe in myself. You guys are stupid. I don't even want to be fucking cool. You guys are losers. And that's golden. Those are the people that you want. The ones that, that know they think different, accepted their ideas, nope, that not a lot of people are going to like them. And they're just going to ride with it because it's better to them. It's better to be different and hated than the same and accepted, right? It's not worth it to them. And to me, that you're going to get a lot more people that are going to push the boundaries of what's possible if you have people that just, are isolated. And, what bullying does is it does that. It allows for those people to be, sequestered off and for their strange ideas to ferment. And a lot of times it ends up coming in the form of something that's revolutionary, Where's my under chest? Oh, son of a bitch. And I would put myself into the category that was, everyone was bullied at some point, right? He's got made fun of for something. You get made fun of for being smart. You get made fun of for being dumb. You get made fun of for being athletic or not athletic. It doesn't really even matter what. You could do literally anything and you're still going to get bullied. That's kind of the beauty of it, I guess, if you think of it that way. And to a certain point, I was, being cool or being accepted, it's all overrated. It's all pretty stupid. You kind of see that especially. But for ones that always just kind of tone down their beliefs to fit in are the ones that, to me end up being the least spectacular of people. And I don't mean that in a, condescending way. I just think, the people that are really going to push the bounds of what's possible and do some, where the hell is my ender chest? Do some, really crazy things are the ones that are generally pushed out. It might have despawned. Oh, that's frustrating. Yeah, so I do think bullying's an important function. It allows people to hunker down their strange beliefs and kind of sell out for what they believe in. And yeah, a lot of people end up, and I'm not saying in the extremist, they believe that, in white supremacy or something ridiculous like that. And you're going to have those whack-offs. You're always going to have those people like that. But it's better to those people to be outspoken and sequestered than, living among us, right? If I could give you the option of saying, okay, you live in a community with 100 people, and you could either have one of the 100 people be, a killer among you. You don't know who they are. Could be your mom, could be your friend, could be you, could be your brother. It could be anyone that's in this community, hypothetical community, of course. Would you rather have them living among you, eating, sleeping, breathing right next to you, cold-blooded killer? Or would you rather have them, living in a cabin in the woods and everyone knows that's the killer, he's in the woods, leave him alone, type of thing. I'd probably rather have the guy in the woods, and, trying to accept everyone, knowing that they're way different is, sometimes it's trying to accept the freaking killer. I'd rather him just, let him be bullied and kind of, isolated in his own way so that it's better for safety's sake, right? Would it not be? And who knows, maybe he'll turn around, try to use his weird thinking for good. He could be Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or one of these nerds that was bullied. Because I think you get different types of people that are bullied. You get the nerds that, end up, getting turned on by graphics cards, and then next thing you know, they're making a new processor that's powering my gaming computer, or you get people that are just pretty bad at everything and end up, shooting people. But, a lot of times you want those warning signs to be more outright. And, by trying to accept and sequester these deep and dark, beliefs about the world and things, you want them to be kind of outed by the bullies and whatnot. And I don't know. I think there's a lot more analysis that could go into it. But I think generally speaking, I think it kind of plays an important function, especially when we're thinking in the eyes of neurodiversity and people thinking very differently, and some people just having fucked up thoughts and brains. Because then otherwise, it's like, oh, it's never okay to even think about doing something wrong or fucked up. I think if you're being honest with yourself, really, being truly honest with yourself, if you never had a fucked up, illegal or just wrong thought, you've never had one ever, just bubbling in your head where it's I could just fucking punt that baby or something, and the ones that just kind of let those things sequester and fester up until they've reached a breaking point, because ultimately life will bring them down. Those people are scary, but the ones that, are very in tune and know that, I'm fucked up in the head, but I'm aware of it, right? Those people aren't as big of a threat to me because they might know, and they know it's okay to have fucked up thoughts, right? And to be a little fucked up in the head sometimes. To accept that versus to try and sequester it into, being accepted, right? And, something like that, or God forbid, some kind of religious thing. Because a lot of times you see the real kooks are people that have this they have a rough childhood, but they're raised in a religious household. But then their fucked up beliefs are weirdly God-centric, where it's God's telling me to kill all these people. And, and I'm not saying that ever plays a role in anything ultimately, that's not the reason. That's not what we're going to blame it on. But I think a lot of times it gives them an excuse, and it also gives them a way to like affirm the fact that they're messed up, they're wrong, they shouldn't be alive because they have these dark and disturbed thoughts. They deserve to be in hell, and they should take 10 people with them or something. I don't really know exactly how those people operate and think. But I think the healthiest way to do it and the best way to do it is to accept and live with the fact that people think a lot differently. Normal people, everyday people walking around have some pretty fucked up things that go on in their head, right? And most of them, I'd say a large, vast majority, don't ever act on anything, right? They might, have a weird dream of them killing somebody, but it doesn't mean they're going to go out and do it, right? Just because you thought about it. And, you ultimately can't control how you think. In a lot of ways, you can't control how you feel, right? But I think being aware and being able to share that is really important. And I think bullying just allows people to really accept that they are different from the norm. The healthy response to bullying. The unhealthy response is to, there's any number of unhealthy responses. But I think a wrong strategy is to go about just like neutralizing bullying at the source and stop bullying altogether. Because then you get people that, are ultimately normal for a long, long period of time, and then all of a sudden are like, Ted Bundy. It's like, what the fuck? Where'd this even come from? I thought this guy was normal. He was always told to sequester and ignore those fucked up thoughts in his head, and he thought he was messed up. So, versus, being, hey, it's totally normal to like think weird, fucked up shit, and just accept that that's normal, but, realize how not to act on weird thoughts and sometimes feelings. Some people have just, their thoughts are very strongly tied to their emotions. So if they have fucked up thoughts, they are feeling fucked up things, right? And it's harder not to act. Whereas some people just like their thoughts and feelings are very much separated. And I wonder if that has something to do with like the logic brain and stuff, and people that, how well those are connected or something. But some people have thoughts that are very isolated from their feelings, right? They can just very calmly think about, I'm going to go down and stab this homeless guy in the eye or something. And just not even blink, right? Not in a sociopathic way, just in the sense that they had a dream about it or something. Some people are deeply emotionally troubled by that and just, feel these strong emotional urges not to do this or to cry or yelp with glee or something. I don't really know. Other people are just very, are less responsive to their thoughts and the emotions that should come with their thoughts. Maybe it's a stress response. I don't know. It's an interesting thought, the kind of connection between thought and emotion. And since we're so bad, just medically speaking, we're not advanced enough to understand what is a thought. Like, we can't even define what's a thought in the medical community. Like, is it a sequence of neurons firing, right? But then, what's a memory, right? And then what's, in terms of, the brain, it's very much a gray area, LOL. But there's just so much we don't know about the brain and thoughts as a whole that it'd be almost impossible to draw some kind of conclusion in terms of, thoughts leading to actions and controlling thoughts. We're a long way from that. So maybe we'll see that in our lifetime. Maybe we won't. Probably not. I don't know. But people certainly have different levels of connection between their thoughts and their feelings. And that probably plays a role in this, the fucked up thoughts space. That I honestly, truly believe that everyone thinks fucked up things sometimes. I don't think anyone with a straight face is going to sit there and be, I always have clean thoughts. Fuck you. You're a lying sack of shit. I'll beat the fuck out of you. As you can tell, I'm obviously one of those people with very, 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 very clean thought palette. I've never had an unclean thought in my entire life. But, it's lying about it. What's that going to do, right? Being a sack of shit, lying about, I would never do this or that, I love it in the funniest example of this that I think back on is like, it's a Tosh.0 stand-up routine. it's like a 10-minute one where he's like, you know, he's like, oh, these school shootings are bad. You know, that's really a problem. But do me a favor. The next time, it's your neighbor that shoots up a school or, whatever. Don't ever go on the news next day and be like, oh my God. I'm paraphrasing, so I encourage you to look it up. He's like, oh my God, I could have never seen it coming. He's such a nice guy. And then he's like, fuck you. He's like, anyone you can't wrap your head around the fact that they could do something horrible, like, should be locked up for 6 months. Like, that's a disgrace. And he's like, ladies, every man you're sleeping next to tonight, just know that there's always a swirl of fucked up thoughts going around in his head, right? But the example he used was like, my mom could blow up a nursery, you could see me on news the next day, like, I can fucking see it, it's just like, you can't, you're kind of making it, not allowing for this diversity of thought, to me is the real failing point in the whole system. And I think bullying especially plays a large part in fostering neurodiversity, and people that are resilient, right? Bullying is like the earliest form of adversity you can face, because otherwise, like, how hard is your life when you're 5, right? You don't do anything hard. Your whole life's easy, right? You go eat freaking Lunchables and fruit roll-ups and then play Xbox until your eyes fall out, right? There's nothing hard you're doing all day, right? And, especially if there's one thing that, you learn through life, is that shit is hard. And the way I see it, the more hard stuff you're able to do, the better you'll get the better you'll be at anything, right? And so, like, my advice to myself a lot of times is, if you're lost, and you don't know what to do with your life or with anything, just do something hard, right? What's hard that you could just do, just to prove to yourself that you can do it, right? And just to, build up that resiliency muscle or the belief in yourself that you can do something. So just do something hard. That's all it is. And bullying, especially at an early age, is the earliest form of, like, hard thing that you can deal with, right? It's like the only real challenge you have. Is school's not fucking hard. Nothing's hard. And doing hard things, pressure makes diamonds. Pressure makes diamonds, baby. I believe in that. I don't know. That's my thought. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree. There's certainly a lot more that goes into it, I think. But as a whole, I really, I'm not going to say be totally laissez-faire with everything, but, as long as it's in a way that kind of builds character. I sound like a military parent, while he's shoveling 3 pounds of kale into his mouth. Builds character. And getting his son out of bed at 3 a.m. to do push-ups or something. I don't mean in that sense. That's kind of stupid. But I just think it's, the fact that we should cushion everyone from everything is to me is scarier than just letting it be how it is. The fact that everything's so, it's got to be everything so safe space, safe this, and then ultimately it's just not. Like, really, you think any social media platform is one for free speech? Only exception I give to that is 4chan. Truly free speech. And I mean, God bless you, 4chan. I'm not a 4chan user. I don't really use anything. I watch YouTube videos and I make YouTube videos pretty much exclusively, but by choice. I'm trying to stop watching YouTube videos and just making them, but that's kind of hard. But God bless 4chan, It's not money oriented at all. Total, like, the epitome of free speech. And to me, that's such a valuable thing. Because, I mean, if nothing else, it just gives you insight into the minds of truly fucked up people, right? Because otherwise they're censored everywhere else, but they exist. And the fact that they're so, like, purposefully sequestered off, and they're the, deplorables, and they're just normal people with fucked up thoughts. And having fucked up thoughts, to me, is a normal thing, right? It's the way we deal with them that becomes unhealthy. And if you are always told that, by society at large, that you're fucked up because you have fucked up thoughts, then you're going to, like, going to double down and act on your fucked up thoughts. Whereas, accept your normal. Find other weird people that aren't going to, I don't know, bully you for your fucked up thoughts. I don't know. I praise 4chan for their true dedication and commitment to free speech. And I know that because people can just spam the N-word in there and no one blinks, no one batters an eye. It's just like, the same thing as spamming emojis in a comment section somewhere else. It's just kind of par for the course. And to me, that's the real test of free speech. If you ask me what a platform that free speech looks like, if every third comment is not, the N-word, in this day and age, I would not consider it free speech. And that's kind of as blanket of a statement as I can give on the matter. Because it's a ridiculous test, The Rusty Buckets free speech test is, if every third comment at least is the N-word, then the platform is a free speech platform. And the other place I know that is free speech, truly, it's uncensored, is you ever want to watch a sports game, but you don't, I don't have MLB TV or anything. I'm not going to pay for that. It's stupid. And you go to crack streams or meth streams or Reddit streams or something like that, and you find a bootleg ass stream of the game. That's the only way I watch any of the games, by the way, of my teams I like. The comment section there, the little chat box for the stream, is always people spamming the most ridiculous, absurd stuff. And people that are there just don't really pay any mind to it. It's just it is what it is. And they're just kind of some people are gonna, call people whatever and that, but it's nothing to worry about. That again is another outlet of free speech for people that I think is healthy. People need to get that out anyway. The more you restrict free speech, the more it just gets bottled up, right? The one way to lose, the one way to start hating, and for me, I think this can apply other places too. But one strategy, I think, let's say you're in love with Oreos, you can't stop eating Oreos, right? And you're just you keep trying not to eat them, you just can't stop eating Oreos. Here's my strategy. Again, this is a bold strategy, but this is my strategy. Buy 6 packs of them and eat more than you want. When you're done eating, keep eating. Milk, Oreo milk. Buy Oreo milk. They probably have that somewhere. Go all out and just overuse the ever-loving shit out of your Oreos and just eat them till you can't eat them anymore. And once you get sick and start puking all the Oreos, the next time you are thinking about Oreos, you're probably going to be I don't really like them, maybe later type of thing, And it's the same thing with I almost broke another one. It's a similar thing with words. The more you try not to use a word, the more people are going to want to use it, right? So the one way to get people to stop saying a word is just to let them burn themselves out with it, right? Let them punch themselves out, metaphorically speaking, of course, so let them spam the N-word for, a couple weeks in chat, or, let the 9-year-old spam poop or something, and eventually they'll get tired of it, right? It's just okay, that's not as fun as I thought. No one's really reacting the way it is. But the thing is, every time, people respond with, "Oh my God," it's, you're giving it the power you desperately don't want it to have by doing that. So it's the same thing with Oreos. You go 2 months without eating Oreos, you're proud of yourself, and then all of a sudden you're you eat an Oreo and you fucking cum yourself because it's so orgasmically good. That's the memory you're gonna have. That's the power you have that Oreo now has over you, right? Versus if you just freaking make yourself sick on Oreos one day, and then you're probably not gonna like them that much anymore because you've it's lost its power, it's lost its punch. That 100th Oreo is not nearly as good as the first one. And I will say the one caveat to this does not apply to drugs. I just want to put that out there because you can't Like, 'cause in the drug world, this would imply, oh, just overdose on drugs and you won't like them anymore. Not the case. Okay, not the case. I'm talking about words and food. All right, that's pretty much where these apply. Is areas of free speech and diabetes. So don't, like, this logic does not apply to drugs. I just thought that is a very important caveat to know. It's like, oh, just do so much heroin that you don't want to do it anymore. It's no. It's not what I'm saying. Mostly talking about foods that you have a problem with and words that you'd like to be censored or something. So ultimately, not reacting is what you eventually want. You want your body not to react as strongly to an Oreo, and you want people to no longer react as harshly to a word that bothers them, right? And that kind of gets back to the point of being offended by everything. So the more you are offended by everything is, again, you're giving people the trolls that just want to have a good time offending people. You're giving them all the power that they want, right? Which it really is hard to do, especially if they're infringing on some other right of yours to ignore. But ultimately, I'm not saying to ignore them, just to again let them punch themselves out. This was hard for me because I had an older brother. I have two older brothers that would harass me for this and that and just be annoying. And then my mom's always like, oh, stop reacting and they'll stop punching you. Doesn't work quite as well, to be completely honest, in that sense, just because they also realize you're ignoring them and they know how much you're getting under their skin. So it certainly doesn't apply as much, but it's still, to an extent, it can and does work, I think, more so than people realize. So I don't know. I especially think it's where did my iron go? Oh, I don't know. To me, it's important, especially in those areas of the area of free speech. I think people are making the wrong call when they are trying to sequester and suppress people saying fucked up shit or people thinking fucked up shit. Because again, you're ultimately assigning it the power you desperately don't want it to have. That's kind of my overall take on it. So I'm not going to go too much more into that. Let's talk about something else. The end of the world. It's a good topic. Mostly I'm talking about just developments in AI. Again, I'm a technology-oriented person, so I'm very much in the know-how of AI and its workings. For those of you that don't know, AI has several branches. I'm not going to go into all of them because it is kind of a complicated subject, but you've probably heard terms like deep learning or machine learning. Again, these are very different, generally algorithms used to guide artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a blanket term for any kind of intelligent agent, defined by something that's not a human making decisions that humans used to make, right? So, we can take a recommendation system, for example. It used to be, I think maybe in the old days, it's like, a human's back there picking the videos you should watch. And in reality, it's just like a very simple, decision made by some simple math, right? Or for anytime anyone you're subscribed to uploads a video, you just put it on a queue and serve it to them the next time they're on the app. That's like as simple as you could get. But now they want what the machine learning algorithm will do is it'll hand select a video for you. And, where it could be a human theoretically hand picking the video, it's not. It's an algorithm. And what the algorithm isn't just a bunch of simple math. It's generally very advanced. And it's mathematics even sometimes to a certain extent, or a lot of times, especially for those big platforms. It's, mathematics beyond even what, it's not something you would come up with like writing it down, right? It's math. It's like so random and weird. It's drawing connections. It's, again, you would never even like mathematically consider as a human, because it's using sample data, or just essentially a bunch of no idiot. Sorry, I mined an ender chest with a fortune pick. I'm a moron. But it's using essentially a ton of data to train itself and creating its own algebraic expressions to decide what video to serve you based off of its kind of aggregate pool of data. Very, very sophisticated. And really what I'm talking about in the grand scheme of things here is not like, I'm not going to give you a lesson on AI. I don't want to do that. Stephen Hawking, somebody that I admire for his genius, was someone that warned very highly of AI. And I really echo that sentiment, not because I want to agree with Stephen Hawking. I mean, that might be part of it, but because he is very smart. But I ultimately do really see it as a threat if it's not understood properly. It's a threat not only to just, I'm not saying it's a threat necessarily to humanity. I mean, it is, but that's not like my main cause of concern, that it's like, oh, it's going to, build its own weapons and shoot us. I'm not talking about that immediate of a threat. I'm talking about even socially, it'll be the first kind of way it takes hold, right? We've already seen that to an extent with platforms that have, can essentially, mathematically really predict your behavior as a user. And I think the next big chunk to go is economically. I think socially is the first thread that gets pulled. If I'm talking about the demise of society, it's a social thread that gets pulled first, and then it's an economic thread, and then ultimately becomes a physical thread in the sense that some kind of war or battle or something. I suppose you could tie it back to like the collapse of the Roman Empire or something. And I'm sure if I was a historian, I'd give you a much better analysis of where we're at, if we're anywhere, if we're going to compare it to that, which you probably could. But I'm just being more general and hand wavy in terms of how I'm applying the dangers of artificial intelligence to our livelihood. I just really think it'll first pose a lot of challenge for us socially, in terms of our interaction, of our livelihood and our emotional state and well-being. In controlling that, it could be really dangerous. I think look on like the cutting edge of AI in terms of what people are trying to make it do. And essentially trying to replace, entertainment even. Because originally I thought that would be like the last way to go, right? I mean, manufacturing jobs are obviously the first to go with automation, right? Those are easy. Self-driving cars to an extent. We remove a lot of transportation, public transportation on a self-driving car, AI, that's certainly in the future somewhere as well. Food service could easily be automated as well. That's kind of gone. The scariest part to me, was there's actually an extension you could get for a coding IDE. IDE is Integrated Development Environment. It's essentially just it's what the hacker screen looks like if you're not familiar with coding. It's like the scary looking thing where you write your code. But basically there's an extension that can predict the code that you're going to write and try to write the code for you. Again, based off of code that other people have written, and essentially just like utilizing tons of existing code bases, it can compare and see like what you're trying to write, what you're trying to implement. And for someone implementing something it's 100% new, it's obviously not going to predict that very well, but especially since a lot of the software development jobs that exist are, a lot of it's very similar, the same technology. It's just, a few different reroutings. The fact that AI could potentially be automating like software development, which you would think would be one of the more protected classes of work. It's scary in that sense. And then at the same time, entertainment was another one that I thought of. I was thinking, well, you can't really replace professional athletes with robots, and I suppose you couldn't, maybe in the very basic sense. But if you think about this, like, obviously video games now are a lot more realistic, and now that, that Zuckerberg moron is trying to get us all in the metaverse, at some point or another, when will reality become indistinguishable from artificial reality, right? When will, the metaverse or some equivalent be so realistic that you can't even tell? That's what people think, oh, we're living in a simulation. Like, we could be, yeah, but like ultimately there's no way of knowing. And even if you are, what are you going to do that's going to make a difference? And I think if you start thinking down that line of logic is where you can start, I don't know, seeing the whole simulation theory a lot more. I'm not a proponent of it. I don't necessarily. Again, I'm kind of in the plausible deniability state where it's, if it is, I wouldn't be the guy that's the genius to, prove it. So as far as I know, I'm just going to say no. But ultimately there's enough that I don't know that I can't really deny anything either, right? It's just as likely that, we're on the back of a giant turtle. There's a famous, like, God, not real argument with, like, a bunch of turtles stacked on one another as, like, an equally likely possibility of simulation theory or of God existing or something. It's a whole argument. I think it was like a Socrates or one of those clowns, one of those guys arguing. But it's still an interesting thought to go down. And really where it starts, especially where you can see it now, is with the development of AI and with, enough refinement of, the visual stimuli we see everywhere, enough data collecting of what we do and how we act, the more that can be kind of pre-programmed into a nice, friendly environment. Again, I think of that scene from WALL-E where it's, everyone's kind of living in their own little other world while they're just, eating hamburgers and sodas or something. That's a very crude view of it. I certainly don't think we're, there, but it's pretty terrifying to think of the potential implications of how AI can replace a lot of what we do, even the ones that think they're safe. To what point could AI be simulating baseball games as realistic and simulating people as realistic as, your favorite baseball athlete? To the point where you don't even care. You're not going to see him and hang out with him, so doesn't even matter that he's real. Even if he was real, if you could make it accurate enough where, if you do see him and meet him in your virtual world, you wouldn't tell the difference by meeting someone in the real world anyway, right? Because they've been able to mimic the human emotion and speech that well, and the vision, the visual parts of all that as well. It's terrifying to think that you could even be replicating stuff that you don't think could be replaceable, like, the Yankees. But, like, who says in the metaverse let's say if the metaverse was indistinguishable visually from the real world, right? And could create people and characters, again, indistinguishable visually and, verbally from real people, it wouldn't matter. Those people wouldn't have to exist. I think that's where simulation theory comes into play, is where people can, oh, well, that means that we're living in a simulation now, because that could be the case right now. We have no better reason to believe that than we don't, so to me it's just more emotionally satisfying if I just ignore that. Again, the fact that I can't really outright deny that as something is one thing, but there's also a lot of things I can't outright deny. I also can't outright deny that we're not living on the backs of a bunch of turtles. Our universe isn't, at least. I mean, I know Earth is not. I can say that with certainty, but it's possible that, what lies beyond the Milky Way and beyond the observable universe is a giant tortoise, right? Beyond everything we ever, because we don't know what's out there. We haven't seen it, so it's not like you have any extra information, right? It being a bunch of planets is probably a likely thing based off on what we've seen, but What if what we have seen in our observable universe is such a small sample size of the greater, what's truly out there, that a turtle isn't as unreasonable as more stars and shit, So again, like it's tough to go down that rabbit hole, and certainly not a fun, exciting thought. I mean, maybe if you're weird, it's fun and exciting. It's more sobering and somber than for most. So it's a very, very existential question, and hypothetical. So I won't. It's probably a great way to end off the episode. So you tell your mom, fuck it, I ain't going to class because we live on the back of a giant sea turtle that is a gajillion light years thick. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm just going to pinch it off there. Hope you enjoyed this ridiculous talk. More for next time. All right. You guys take it easy. Peace out.